Hey everybody, Johnny Be Good here. Greetings from somewhere around near Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Alright, temperature right now it is 67 degrees. Local time it is 11:36. We are down to 479 miles to Williams, Arizona, where I will be doing my 10-hour break. Okay, good news. We finally received our pre-plan. That means we have our next load information. We pick up in Baldwin Park, California on Monday at 1400 and then delivers to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Murfreesboro is between Nashville, Tennessee and Chattanooga, Tennessee on I-24. And I have been asked when I would like to deliver it. The earliest the better, safely, legally. So I then therefore replied Thursday at 1600. That's what I responded to. Hopefully everything works out. I figured we could deliver Thursday, pick up Friday, hopefully a load going back to Wisconsin, and be home Friday night or Saturday, and then be good and ready for the Monday pickup in Green Bay back to California. That would work out real nice, providing the load is available and Tennessee, delivering to Wisconsin. But who knows, right? By the way, I'd like to say hello and greetings to Sam Spot from Finland, I believe. Oh boy. Yeah, Finland, Northern Europe. Hello, Sam. Thank you for taking the interest of watching my silly videos. Finland. Got a nice name to it, don't it? Sounds cold though. Yeah, I guess we are in Santa Rosa right now. Route 66. I know I have told you this story many times in the past, but I also realize that there's a lot of you that I have not heard it. So, and I think a few of you have been curious to how I got to the United States from the Philippines. All right, to begin with, my dad's family were born and raised in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and my dad, at the age of 21, I believe, or less, I think when he was 18, he sailed the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes consist of Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Erie, Lake Huron, and I think one more. Anyway, he became a sailor, a merchant marine on a civilian ship. Started out as a deckhand, but I would imagine at the age of 21, which was probably the requirement of being overseas on the high seas, as they call it, he left the comforts of home and sailed around the world on one of those real big ships, and he worked himself all the way up to a mechanic or a chief engineer of the ship. My dad was a brilliant diesel mechanic. There was nothing that guy couldn't fix. So anyway, he sailed around the world a few times, and the first time he landed in the Philippines, mainly in the island of Mindanao, to the port of Bogo or Puerto, at a cannery of Del Monte Cannery, pineapples. He just fell in love, jumped off ship, and well, young ignorant American kid didn't know what he was into. Totally ignorant to the culture or what to do and what not to do. He got into some kind of a problem and troubles with some of the locals. Now I'm kind of skipping this a little bit on a short version here. Anyway, one day, supposedly, on the hustle and bustle in the public market, there he was, fighting with the locals, and there was this bus that came into town, just like in the olden days, where every major bus had to stop in, major towns and drop off passengers and pick up passengers and all that. Well, it so happened that bus came in. Inside that bus was a little petite little lady. Well, let's just call her the Badger. She might be small, but I tell you what, she was ferocious. And supposedly the story goes where this little lady saw this American being mistreated by the locals and taken advantage of. And what does this tiny little lady do? She gets off the bus, starts yelling and screaming and fighting with the locals. And guess what? She saved this American kid. Well, I would imagine this guy, my dad was probably around the 25s or something. I don't know how old he was, but anyway, this little lady jumps off the bus. And I guess she became his knight in shining armor. Now you got to understand something. Back in those days, the culture was totally different, and very, very conservative. No women at that time brought home a man let alone brought home an American man. But that lady turned out to be my mom, by the way. But my mom, I guess, took my dad home. And well, the story is, now you know the rest of the story, I guess. So anyway, my dad ended up living in the Philippines for about 45 years total. He spoke the language, he knew and adapted the culture. He was known throughout the Philippines, most especially in Mindanao. I remember when I was growing up, riding with him on a motorcycle. Everywhere we went, there was always somebody in every little village and town yelling, "Hey Jack, how are you?" Everybody knew about Jack. My brother and I were born and raised in the Philippines, in the big city of Cagayan de Oro, in the island of Mindanao. But we grew up in a smaller island off the island of Mindanao called Camiguin Island, which is really small. And I and my brother grew up in a very small barrio called Liong, Liong. The first time we came to the United States was back in 1980 or 79, I think it was. If I remember correctly, in 1979 or 80, maybe somewhere near around December, we were headed for Western Samoa, I believe. But on the way to Hawaii for a stopover, the Pan Am Airlines had a strike, and we were given temporary visas, and so we stayed in Hawaii for, oh gosh, I don't know how long that was. And then we continually traveled to Western Samoa. And then we visited American Samoa, and then traveled back to Hawaii, and finally settling in Wisconsin. But get this, in the last months of 1983, my dad was homesick for the Philippines. So we all packed up and leave and went home. It was also the same year where the Philippines was up in uproar, civil war, and the assassination of Ninoy Aquino. Well, I stayed in the Philippines until 1990. From 83 to 1990. 1990, I migrated back in the US, got my CDL, and the rest of the story is commonly known. My first truck driving job was with CRST, Cedar Rapids Steel's transport out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But my home terminal was in Schererville, Indiana. And I have worked at least a half a dozen trucking company ever since. And that's pretty much it. In the year 2000, my dad died at home in Sheboygan. He died on his sleep. It was always his final wish and demand that he would be laid in rest in peace back in the island of Kamigan Island. So we shipped him home, and that was the last time I ever got back to the Philippines. It was the burial of my dad. Alright, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace.